are on A-5, so you should have your A4. My A-5 I'm going to just put right here. It should only take about a page because we just have one quick vocabulary word and then 2 examples. While we work on A5, we're going to continue equations. So it's equations. And I just called it with distributive because I was lazy. The technical is like equations using the distributive property. But I'm just going to say equations with distributive. Keep it simple. While we do equations, what is usually our direction with the equations? What are we doing with them? Solving them, and we wrote this down 2 times already. What does it mean to solve an equation? Find the answer, find the variable, and the goal is we want it to actually be equal. Okay? And when we solve, we use inverse operations. Can anyone remind me what give me a pair of inverse operations? Yeah, Tyler? Good, multiplication and division. What else? Samina, give me another one, you know it. Multiplication, division. What else gets paired together? Look at you go, addition and subtraction. And then the one that kind of feels goofy is when we add a negative. What do we usually do to get rid of adding a negative? We could minus a negative, but to do it easier, we're going to pew pew. When we add a negative, the easy way is to add a positive rather than subtracting a negative because then we just get too many negative signs. All right, real quick, distributive property today. That's our keyword. We already defined this back in A2, but we're just going to write it really short. If you want to write pew pew next to it, pew pew, you can do that. We're going to hear Mr. Tyson say pew pew a couple times today. If I have 3 times 2x minus 6, that distributive property tells us that this is multiplying in the front. Instead of taking 3 times the whole thing, what are we going to do?
3 times 2x.
Yep. And 3 times what?
3 times minus.
Yep, so both of our arrows come from that 3. Pew, pew. And we're going to multiply by each part rather than multiplying by the whole thing. So 3 times 2x and 3 times, I would do negative 6. If you wanted to just do 6, you'd put a minus in between there. And what is 3 times 2? 6. And 3 times negative 6. Negative 18. So we have an option there. We can either write plus negative 18 or we can write minus 18. Either way, it means the same thing. So that's our distributive property. We're going to now use that while we solve equations. Okay? So, for our examples, if you want to write the word example, you can write the word example. I'm going to start with the word solve, because that's our direction on our examples. If you're someone who you like using those highlighters or colored pencils, feel free to grab those and use them as you need. I didn't use them, but you might. I don't know. All right, problem number 1, example 1. We have 3 times the quantity of x minus 9 equals negative 84. So generally, what do we do first? Before we even think about what we're undoing, what do I like to do first? I like to draw the line. That helps me keep things the same. As soon as I do something to this side, I do something to this side. Okay, normally we're looking for a variable. What side is the variable on? The left or the right? Left. What is with the variable? The -9. What else is on that side? 3, and there's parentheses. So we can't really touch this 9 yet because it's with that x, it's in the parentheses. So to make it a little bit simpler, we're going to make it look like our two-step equations like we did last week. So we're going to go pew, pew, distribute. So 3 times x. If you need to write this step in, you can. If you don't, that's your choice. 3 times -9. That's my step. That's the math that I'm going to do here. And remember, how many x's is this? 1. So if you need to sneak in a 1 there, you can. Just remind yourself, we're going to do 3 times 1 is 3. If you need a calculator, that's okay. 3 times -9. This is your decimals calculator that you can use on tests. Remember, that's at the top of the Schoology page. That's -27. So you can either write plus -27, or we can just write -27 equals -84. At this point, if you want to try and work ahead, it's just a two-step equation. This is what we practiced last week. So now that I have x and I don't have parentheses, am I going to first get rid of the 3x or get rid of the 27? Good, because the 3 is the what? We said it earlier today. It's a coefficient. It's a coefficient. Coefficient means it's together. So we want to keep those together as long as we can. So how would I get rid of a -27? Good, and if we do it on one side, we have to do it on the other side. That's the equation. That's how we keep things equal. We have to do things the same. So now this 27 and this plus 27, those undo each other. So I'm left with just 3x equals, and you could use your calculator for this, -84 plus 27. You get -57. And what is my last step going to be to solve this? Divide. How do you know that we're going to divide? Good. When they're touching like that, that means multiply, and the inverse of multiply is divide. So we're going to divide by 3. I like to do my line across. That tells me I have math I actually have to do. Okay, on your decimals calculator, rather than typing in -57 again, I can just hit this A and S button right here. A and S. So I'm going to do A and S. That just puts in the -57 for me. Divided by 3, -19. Yeah. Good question. All right, last one we're going to do today as a group, and then you have the rest of the time to practice. But of course, while you're practicing, if you need help, please ask for help. One way you can check your answer is by plugging it into your calculator real quick. So here I'm going to write 3 parentheses. Instead of x, what number am I going to use? What did we decide x is? -19 minus 9. And what do I want my answer to be? I want it to equal negative 84. I just plug it back into that original equation up top, and it equaled negative 84. So I know I'm right. We know we're good. All right, let's go on to the next problem, number 2. Last one for today. $215 equals negative 1 minus 8 times the quantity, so parentheses, quantity of 1 minus 7b. Lots of minuses here. So this one especially, I like to draw that line down the equal sign because it's not down the middle this time. The equal doesn't end up exactly in the middle. It's kind of off to the left-hand side. So that line really helps keep things so that I know it's this side and this side. It's not in the middle. All right, over on that side with the B, what do we got there? We got a 7. What else do we have? A negative 1. What else? A negative 8. And a 1. And we have a B and parentheses. You're really good at naming things, Hannah. Just not always the thing I want to be named, but you got it. All right, so according to our order of operations, can I do this subtracting first? No. What do I have to do before I subtract? Yeah, I have to do parentheses. Can I subtract these? Are they like terms? No. So, how do I get rid of the parentheses? That's why we do the distributing. The whole point is to get rid of the parentheses. Now, when I distribute this, though, what number am I going to distribute? Negative 8. Because it's a minus 8. So we're going to do negative 8 times 1. And we're going to do negative 8 times what? Close. Negative 7b. That minus sign goes with that 7. I like to draw my line across. That tells me I have math to do. I actually have to put it in my calculator or do it in my head. We didn't do anything on this side, which is okay because here we just use that distributing. We didn't take away anything. We're not changing anything. We're just getting rid of those parentheses. So 215 equals, did we do anything with this negative 1? No. Now, whenever I distribute, I like to put in a plus sign because it just makes me feel better about my life. Helps me. Okay. What is negative 8 times 1? Negative 8. Okay. Plus negative 8 times negative 7. If you're not sure, it is okay to use your calculator. Negative 8 times negative 7. Whoops, I forgot the negative, so I'm just going to delete. Negative 7. Positive 56. So that's just going to be a plus 56. But don't forget B. Now this isn't a two-step equation yet. It doesn't look like it did last week. Because there's 3 things there. So what can I do to make it look like last week's? Yeah, why would I add the 1 and the 8? Because then what? So it becomes one number, yeah. And why can I add the 1 and the 8 together? What makes it so that that can be together? They're like terms, yeah, they're constants. All right, so negative 1 plus negative 8 gives us negative 9 plus 56b. All right, at this point, if you want to try working it out on your own, you can. Dividing by that 56, I would make sure that you use calculator probably. So what are we going to undo first, the 9 or the 56?
9.
Good, the 9. When we get rid of the 9, we want to put that opposite right underneath it. That way we know that that's what we're getting rid of. So what's the opposite of a negative 9? Opposite of negative 9. Yeah, plus 9. There we go. We're getting it. Now this is where we're undoing something. So this is where we're adding something in that wasn't there before. So this is where we have to do it on the other side. Everything else up to this point, when we distributed, that was already there. When we combined this, it was already there. This is the part that we're adding in something new. All right, so 215 plus 9. I know 215 plus 10 would be 225. Go backwards 1. I end up at 224 equals 56b. And then our last step. Good. Divide by 56. I'm going to use that fraction line. Remember, if you want to use this division sign like we did in problem 1, feel free to do that. There's 2 ways to show it. Whoops. 224 divided by 56 equals 4. How can I check my work? Yeah, I can plug that 4 back into this b way up here. So I'm going to ignore the 215. That's what I'm hoping my calculator will tell me is the answer. I'm going to plug in negative 1 minus 8, parenthesis, 1 minus 7. Now it says b. Am I just going to write 74? No, that means times. So times 4. And my answer is 215. So I know that it went right. We got it. If it gave me another answer other than 215, let's say we thought it was going to be a negative 4, we get negative 233. That's not the same, so that's not answering the question that we wanted. All right, so for today's practice, I kind of want to talk about it a little bit. It's a little goofy. So go ahead and if you want to go to Schoology, you can. So pull that up, go to your week 3 in Schoology. You're going to do this on a separate sheet of paper again. We're in the week 3 of Schoology. It's the yellow folder. So in Schoology, it's the week 3 folder. And there should only be one thing in it right now. Remember, this is where you can also find your videos of things that you are missing. I'm going to update those hopefully today. Alright, so A-5 practice, what you're going to do is there are different colored columns. If you don't have it pulled up yet and you want, I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds to pull it up, I guess. As it's going to make more sense if you're looking at it on your computer. Okay, are you going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 problems today? No. Do not do all the problems. You are not doing all the problems. You are going to do a total of 5 problems. Okay? So in that A5 practice, you are going to choose problems you would like to do. So you can look through them and decide which ones you want to do. Out of the yellow column, So A, B, C, D, E. You are going to choose 2 of those. So you can pick A and C. You can do B and D. You can do any 2. You can just do A, B if you like are like, I just want to do whatever, the first 2. Do the first 2. You can pick which 2 you want to do. Blue, you are going to pick 2. So far you have how many problems in the yellow and the blue together? 4. So all you have to do in the orange is pick 1. Okay? So 2 from the yellow, 2 from the blue, 1 from the orange. On your paper, instead of using numbers, you are going to put the letter next to it. So you might have A, C, G, I, L. That's okay. Doesn't have to go in order. So on your paper, put the letter that you were using for that problem. That way I know which column it came from. Ew. Just choked up my spit. That was gross.